banks. How did so many people not see this scam happening? How many, and I'm not calling it a scam. I have no opinion on this subject because I don't invest in crypto, but everything we're seeing online is the guy that was the bankruptcy attorney for Enron is saying this is worse than Enron. Mm-hmm. How many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, families lost everything by putting their money into a scam? So we're not going to talk crypto. We're going to talk real estate. We're going to talk scams. We're going to talk things that almost happened to us. Not the scam of marriage that actually happened to me a couple of times, but the actual scams in real estate where people lose everything. And you could see this, but just by going to certain Facebook groups and going to the top and saying, searching for lost everything, avoid this. And just an example before we jump in, and I'll introduce Matt, the lumberjack landlord, who's here with me, spending his time on a Friday, after surviving Black Friday shopping.
Yes, that's awesome.
When you are closing on a real estate deal, there are scammers who scan title companies for internet traffic to find out your purchase price, your agent's name, your email, and you will get very official looking emails right around the time that you're signing closing that have routing numbers for your bank deposit for closing that say your $89,000 check that you're bringing to the table for closing costs, for your down payment. Here's your instructions on how to send this money. And if you fall for that and you don't call your title company to verify some numbers, you don't get that money back. It isn't the title company. It isn't your agent. It's somebody that's just giving you an account to put the money in who's under no obligation whatsoever to give it back. When you hear about scams like that happening to investors who have several properties, this isn't you're brand new to real estate, so you fell for it. It's you became complacent and you've done this a dozen times and it looks just like the last time. So that's just one of the types of scams that you can get. Matt, what do you think is one of the more common scams that people fall for in real estate?
Oh, I think that, I see fake rentals all the time, where people that's one of the biggest things that we learned on Facebook Marketplace when advertising our units. It's key to have watermarked photography if you can do it. You have a slick way of doing that that you should probably share with people. But that's the thing that we get most often. We got flagged on this one unit 3 times in the first 5 days it was listed. And we had to keep on reposting it because they said, there's no way this is real. It's too cheap. And so I said to the agent, I go, why aren't you telling me this? Then we need to mark it up. Then we need to make it more expensive. I said, we're literally getting disqualified for being too inexpensive. Time to raise the price. So we did. We raised it $400 from $2,500 to $2,900. We had a renter in one weekend at $400 more a month. It's insanity. So I think that that's one of the areas I think a lot of people fall for but that's on the renter side, not on the landlord side. But that's something to be aware of because everything that we do, we try and put it through the filter of what is the tenant's experience. I think that's what makes us really successful.
So on that note, here's an example of the scam being on the renter side, but landing in the landlord's lap. Mm-hmm. I have some friends, really small YouTube channel, Durango and Pods RV Adventures, because they were house hacking, living in an RV, Airbnb out their house. Changed their strategy to something bigger now. But they got a call from the tenant that was renting out their current Airbnb house saying, someone's here that has also rented the property with instructions to drill out and replace the locks because the owner is out of country. So when you put your listing up and you share your address, the pictures, there are people who will take those pictures. And that's why you talked about watermarks. And I won't share my screen and go through it because it's kind of nuanced. I might make a video on that someday. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to know exactly how I put watermarks in the images that I list my properties with. It's like a 5-step process. But if it's easy and they could take your image that people can then Google Street View and see that that's actually where the house is, they will list it for rent at a really great deal. Sometimes just saying, look, give me a $500 deposit and first rent's free, and then you'll pay start your rent the next month. So all they're going for is the $500 deposit. And the renters fall for, the owner is out of country. I'm going to go drill out and replace the locks and then live here with only a $500 deposit and a free month's rent, thinking that's a real thing. So the person who fell for that is out the money. The tenant who's renting the Airbnb is interrupted and could possibly give you less than a 5-star review because of whatever hassle they had to deal with. The owner also now has to prove, look, I didn't rent you my property. I am not that email. I am not that person. So it's not that this can't happen to you if you take all these steps, but the harder you make it on the scammer, the less likely this is to happen to you. When you put your listing up, if you just put at the bottom, like your email or your phone number, it's very easy to cover that. So I use canva.com, C-A-N-V-A, to make thumbnails. I'm not very good at it. And here's a quick side note. My goal is to make my thumbnails look bad and my video editing look bad, to show you that you don't have to be super tech, officially really good at this kind of stuff to succeed at real estate. The average person who sucks at video editing can be successful at real estate. But I go to Canva, and you can change the transparency of the words, tilt them at an angle, and put several versions of your name, your email, your phone number on each picture, so that if somebody wanted to take your picture, they'd have to cover each one of those in the picture at a certain angle. They couldn't use transparent because it has to cover your email. Make it harder for them to use your images for those scams, because they do happen. So that was another big scam, is people saying, I'm going to rent this house, and they don't even own it. Because there are renters that are so desperate, they'll fall for almost anything.
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
Other scams. If somebody is trying to tell you how to invest in real estate, how to buy rentals, how to Airbnb, how to pick a market, and they're a renter that doesn't own any properties and doesn't share their size of their portfolio or some of their actual deals, I don't know that I would want to take information whose source of income was their course.
Yes. 1,000%.
If somebody has a source of income and they make money from a course, I'm okay with that. But if you take the course away, is it still somebody you'd want to emulate? So if you see something that says $12,000 weekend, I think you're better off taking $12,000 and throwing it at a bad real estate deal and losing it all. What you would learn from that is probably more than you're going to get from a $12,000 weekend. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean courses are bad. I actually did a review of One Rental at a Time, the course originally, and I went to Zuber and I actually said, look, I'm kind of anti-courses. I'm going to take the course, but I'm going to give an honest review. And he was like, cool, as long as you just tell the truth, be honest. And my takeaway was everything that's in the course is available online. Mm-hmm. If you have the time to sit through 8,000 videos and filter down 8,000 videos and conversations to your strategy, your market, your bandwidth, your goals, you don't need to take his course. But if you want to save a few thousand hours and get it filtered to a chronological order for the steps that you would need and picking and choosing exactly what's going to match your strategy, less than $1,000 for his course, absolutely, all day long,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And I don't know that his course is much more than a rounding error in his income.
Correct.
So that's that kind of like when you make a course, I'll be like, okay, this is the guy who's making a course. I'm going to take it because I want the cash flow that he's generating from real estate, not the course. So as Millennial Mike says here, get rich quick boot camps run by celebrity flippers. But that course then get upsold to another 3K in additional products and investments, masterminds. Absolutely. The upselling scam is huge. I've been to a couple of Rich Dad, Poor Dad free seminars, and I enjoy them. I enjoy the energy of the room. You can tell it's new investors trying to get excited, but it's always first person to the back of the room to the table that grabs, that signs up for the week next course of whatever price gets a free book. So you're going to get a $30 book and sign up for however many thousands of dollars that next course is. Mm-hmm. Get the free stuff. Avoid the upsell.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge for us, right? Like we want to do a course because there's so much experience in 22 years I can't put it into YouTube. It's too much, and it needs to be more targeted. And you know how expensive, after having done the research, how unbelievably expensive it is to build a course and then administer it after that. It's so unbelievably expensive. But I think the other big thing too for me is, as I look at, our course about to come out in the next, 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, as I look at that, I'm really excited for it. And there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm not going to have on YouTube. It's going to only be in the course. But it's really meant for people that have chosen to be landlords, like they've chosen to, this isn't one of those things where it's like, I'm not talking about how rich you can get. I'm not talking about any of those things. What I'm talking about is, here's 22 years of experience bundled up and packaged in a way that people, I think, will gravitate towards it, manage it. I think the big thing for me too is that real course people, like real people that do what they do for a living, and then people constantly ask for a course. It's taken me 2 years to be emotionally okay with doing a course. I freaking hate courses, largely speaking. But then the more feedback I get, it's like, no, we need this information. We want this information. And for me, it's like, all right, I mean, I guess I have to relent. It's just one of those things, because we turn down, Dion, you and I turn down consulting offers all the time.
I feel bad.
I do too.
I feel bad, but I'm like,
I do too.
Right. I didn't retire to consult.
Correct.
Like, I get that there are people who do that.
Yes.
But I also want to get the information out to people.
Yep.
Kind of like Zuber's conundrum.
Yes. 100%.
Take my course, pay this amount, and get time with him.
Right.
Biggest fear being a bunch of people sign up for that.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it sucks. He's going to make money, but it's also going to take his time.
And here's the thing. Here's the part that's really frustrating, is that I know that if I spend 3 hours with somebody, I know it's going to make a world of difference. There's going to be so many things that I've done wrong in 22 years that I can say, hey, if you're going through that process, I did this wrong, I did this wrong, I did this wrong, I did this wrong. And I know I can save them time and money. That's why I think people want it. But yeah, to that point, it's like, I'm not retiring, and I didn't wait as long as I did to retire so I can then pick up a second job or a third job. It's like, I really love the real estate stuff that I'm doing, but I want to make sure to give people access to that. So course is the best way that I can do that. And that's why I'm excited to put it out there.
Cool. 2 other quick scams.
Yeah.
So back in the dinosaur days, back in my day, timeshares. So many people would sign up for timeshares that didn't have an exit strategy, that would commit to paying a certain amount of money, come for the free weekend in Vegas, but you just got to sit through the seminar. And then you get somebody that's in front of you who is psychologically trained as a salesperson. And then the person who's like, I'm just going to go for the weekend and I'm going to sit through a 4-hour seminar, turn everything. And all of a sudden they own a timeshare.
Yep. That
turned into turnkey real estate. And I'm not going to name the person because I don't want to be sued, but let's just say somebody who used to work in the news, who had an investing channel, who is now very one-sided as far as politics go, had a turnkey property company.
I saw it. Yeah.
Multi-state.
Yeah.
Took his notoriety. And from what I've seen watching through the years, I don't know that him and his spouse ever did anything illegal or even unethical, right? Like they were, we're going to find properties, we're going to fix them up, you're going to buy them, we're either going to manage them or we're going to give them to a management company, and it's turnkey and you're going to make money. Great concept. Mm-hmm. And it works. There are people, I have a friend here who invests in Ohio. She's connected to a couple of people, and they, buys the property through them. They manage the property. She's getting a good ROI. So it happens. It's a thing. Millennial Mike might be investing with a company because he had Matsky Finance kind of connect him with the right people to get it done. But this company got so large that employees of the company, either to make money, reach quota, whatever it was, were selling turnkey real estate that didn't exist. Oof. That were vacant lots without houses being sold as completely done, turnkey, you'll make money. So when it comes to buying anything turnkey, do your research, reviews, time in business.
Yeah.
Maybe actually go visit I mean, if you're going to
Yes.
spend tens of thousands of dollars on an investment, it might be worth a plane ticket to just go and say, hey, is this thing real? And I'm stunned that so many people fell for it, that person and their spouse moved out of the US, still has a YouTube presence, but
Yes.
isn't doing the turnkey stuff anymore. So, like I said,
I don't think living in America either.
no, they moved out of the country. They had to move out of the country, and they're not coming back.
Yeah, I remember.
And what's funny is, I mean, I like their content. I think
Me
their
too.
strategies are great.
I was this close to investing. In all honesty, I was really close to investing because they were in a part of America that I really loved, that I wanted to invest, that I knew the track was going to be 5 really strong years of growth and rental pressure. And they were in the right areas. And thank God I didn't, because I just kept on finding deals on my own that gave me a great return. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know that I was right. I was on the verge of doing so much research with them that my friends who were looking for turnkey investments, I was saying, go here.
Right.
To me, it's just as bad because
I was really close.
Then the scam comes out. So that's the first one, is those turnkey investments that literally just don't exist.
Yeah.
Do your research on that.
Yeah.
The other scam in real estate that I think a lot of people fall for is, and it's not all of them, it's just possible for some of them, syndications.
Oh, yeah.
The way some syndications are marketed, the first step being somebody with a brain says these are such risky investments, it's illegal for you to advertise this investment to uneducated investors. Right. So the first step is qualifying that if you're going to market this, it can only be marketed to accredited investors. So you have $1 million net worth, you make $250,000 a year, whatever the numbers are, it's something that says, I can invest because I have so much money. If I lose it, I'll survive. Not a thought process I want to have. But what was the ROI on the syndication that you shared on your channel that somebody sent to you?
67%.
67%. If somebody looks at that and they think that's amazing, I'm going to invest my money, they deserve to lose it all.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote Homer Simpson. If something seems too good to be true, jump on it before it goes away.
Right.
Duh.
Yeah.
Of course that. So that's like the extreme. If they're going to say, oh yeah, you're going to get a 67% return, that's why they need money. Because if that in any world of existence existed with any reasonable amount of success, Warren Buffett would take billions and stuff it down that person's throat.
No kidding.
But somebody that's scrimped and saved up their 20 grand is thinking, oh, I'm gonna make $13,000 by investing with these people. Matt's probably wrong on that. But syndications that require a projected rent increase over the next several years, right, for their best exit strategy to even work is something worth avoiding. Right. So I remember before I was an accredited investor, I used to think it's very frustrating. I would like to get on these good deals. Why are they only letting the rich people in on these deals? Then I become accredited and I think, oh, the only reason I'm still accredited is because I'm not stupid and throwing my money into those bad deals. There's a reason there's a barrier to entry there. So you can recognize that a return that requires something that's most likely not going to happen isn't a good investment.
Yeah, the returns were nuts.
So Flash of Light, howdy, jumps in with, I miss the old Tom Vu infomercials, hot ladies, mansions, safe and easy real estate investments. Are you a doer or a loser line? So I don't think I've ever seen, I didn't have TV when I was a kid, and I think that was more towards my childhood when that happened. But I remember some commercials of, it was always a guy that had gray hair. So, what do they call it? Where you distinguished.
Distinguished.
Right?
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. But in a Hawaiian shirt.
Wasn't him. So Tom Vu was mid 80s, and he would be walking on top of a yacht and in front of like helicopters and say, you too can be wealthy in real estate. And I was just like mesmerized by this guy. Cause like Flash of Light says, it was 6 girls in bikinis, everybody having a glass of champagne in their hands. What was really funny was I used to watch Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. It was on Saturdays. And so he would have commercials in Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. It was hilarious. I thought, let me know how I did on that impression flash of light, because you remembered. But Tom Vu. And then he ended up going to, he went to jail for a long time.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to get to the comments and go through some questions, but those were just some of the more common scams that sometimes people just don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Vanish. Howdy. Millennial Mike. Should have messaged me. Could have been on here with us, sharing his knowledge.
He was Black Fridaying it too.
Oh, yes. He's out there buying all that tactical gear that's on sale today. All-nighter hider. Howdy. Chester, better use of time here than Black Friday shopping. It's possible that there's somebody that's just between stores right now in their car going, oh, yeah. Quick, alive, I'll jump in here. Like REI Stoners. I caught a live. Great.
Awesome.
So it's a random Friday live. I think if you're up to it, Matt, I think we're just going to kind of do this back and forth every other Friday.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Except for when I'm not crushed inside and you invite Millennial Mike out to stay with you. Someday I might get that invitation. We'll do one live together like me and Millennial Mike did, where we set up both computers.
I was just jealous because I never got invited to the slides. You selfish, you know what? I mean, granted, I might break the slides, but that's besides the point. That's the video. That was the question most often asked on our walkthroughs, was how crazy big we are. And if the house was too small. The house is normal size, but thankfully Mike is really good with a camera. So I looked like a giant.
See, so you should have invited me. My midget status would have kind of balanced it out. Han Solo, howdy. I hope your Thanksgiving was good too. And All-Nighter Hider says he didn't know this, but was probably around the time we were talking about the wire transfer. So just so everyone knows, your title company is going to want you to do a wire transfer because basically it happens that day. And if you bring in a cashier's check, it delays their deposit by a day.
Yes.
I've purchased 7 properties. I've never once wired money. Mm-hmm. I will every single time take in a cashier's check because of the people I've encountered who literally wired somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000 and it's just gone. Oh. Then the deal blows up because you don't have your down payment money.
Oh my word.
And so, yes, I get it. There's a lot of people, all they do is wire the money. So call your title company, compare the numbers, make sure that it's going to the right place, speak to an actual human when you do it, or be like me and piss everyone off, but walk in with a cashier's check going, here's an image of it. I'm taking it. This is your problem now. If you lose it, it's not my problem.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's exactly right.
Yep.
And Millennial Mike, you just tell me in the comments if how good that Tommy Vu impression was. I think I nailed it. And I haven't seen that commercial in forever. And I guarantee if you guys go and look up, don't leave the live stream, but I guarantee if you look up somewhere else that Tommy Vu, I guarantee I nailed that impression. That guy was burned on my memory, just like Robin Leach, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Nice. What was it like growing up with TV?
So it was really funny, Dion, because you're the only person that got less TV than me. You're it, because I only had 3 channels. I didn't have cable until I was old enough to drive. Like we had 3. So we had the old television with the rabbit ears, and I'm not that old. Like I'm 45. I'm old enough, but you're talking early 90s, late 80s. We had no cable. We had bunny ears and no remote control. I'll have you know.
Yeah, since we were living in houses that weren't ours.
Yes.
We didn't have utilities. We didn't have power. We didn't have like weird stuff that normal people just had. And we were living way out in the middle of nowhere in LA. That's crazy. Matt Bittner, howdy. Saw a wholesale house on Craigslist one time that looked like a good deal. When I asked repeatedly what title company we were closing at, it was crickets. Just send the money. They'll take care of everything. Don't worry about The more you know. Howdy. How to watermark video, please. Will do. I will make that video. I probably won't give very many views because it's a real estate channel and you confuse people when you make other things, but I'll relate it to a safety tip for posting rentals.
Yeah, good idea.
Millennial Mike, Airbnb arbitrage, technically legitimate, especially if you let the landlord know that that's what's happening.
Sure.
Promoted by scammed big time, very shady, extremely hard to make work, easy to lose money. Yes. And the one I'm talking about is the Airbnb arbitrage where they don't actually own the property, have access to the property, and trick people into going there.
Yeah, that's even scarier.
Millennial Mike comments on his trip that he got that I didn't, that I wasn't invited on. But I'm not going to cry anymore. For anybody wondering, 3 hours with Matt actually does make a huge difference. I can't believe how much I learned from him, even as someone investing for 4 years. I was getting lost in the sauce.
So we did like kind of 3 nights in a row, like a mini one-on-one boot camp with just joking around and having fun. But the kids are all in bed by 7:30. And so then like kind of like 8 to midnight, 8 to 11. So we just hung out each of those 3 nights, literally just talking real estate, talking shop, deal structure and management and building the portfolio and all that stuff. So it was fun. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. I was just kind of like, if you want to keep on talking about this, Mike, we can, but I think we're both pretty tired.
Just salt in the wound, man. Salt in the wound. Like, it's making me drink water over here.
We'll do another one. We'll do another one. It was fun. We had a blast. It was a good time.
Julie, interesting. I know who you were talking about.
Yeah. It was sad. It was
Most
sad.
people probably did, but I didn't name him, so can't sue me.
Yeah, can't exactly. True story.
All-nighter hider. With your good attitude, I'm sure you were loving all the opportunity to learn, Millennial Mike. Agreed. I could learn from Millennial Mike too. So we actually spent some time together in California. I learned that you should never answer a phone on speaker. All-nighter hider. Question. Does an axe suppressor require a tax stamp?
Yes.
There you go. Pallavi, howdy. Good morning to both of us. Flash of light. You nailed the Tom Vu impersonation. Good job. I'll find some Tommy Vu clips for us just to react to them. Millennial Mike. Tony Carr, howdy. Lumberjack Landlord. Impression was spot on. See, nice. I wish I had TV so I could have enjoyed it.
I tell you, it was, I dreamed to be him until I found out what he did and who he was.
Nice. Michelle, howdy, here in the Pacific Northwest. Used to go to grandparents' house to watch TV with them. Oh, nice. When did I went to a friend's house to see TV a couple times as a kid, but I think I was just more shocked that they had a bathroom inside where you eat. And
was it
weird?
Was it the climate that you lived in? It was California climate, LA County. So that's like nice all the time, right?
Kind of. I mean, we would fix the doors and windows so the house was warm.
Yeah.
We just didn't own it. Didn't pay rent.
Right. It's not a horrible model. I mean,
no. My dad did it till he died.
What was the longest?
Too much.
What was the longest amount of time you were ever in one?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
That's unreal.
I mean, a couple of years of school at the same place. I remember them. But my dad from 2000 to like 2012 when he passed away, found an abandoned triplex behind a bar, moved into one, fixed all 3 up, rented the other 2 out. So he was collecting rent, ran power from the bar. So they had power more than what I had when I was a kid. I don't know what happened when he passed away. I never even checked what happened to those tenants because he didn't own the place. So it wasn't like this was in 1940 when you could do these things. This was in 2006, 2010.
Wow.
He was doing that. All-nighter hider. Matt needs a chopped it shirt. Flash of light. Dion, you are right about paying extra ad-free streaming. You could lose a lot of money being sucked in by Tom Vu in the 1980s. Nice. Yeah. So that's one of my tips for financial freedom is find out a way at all costs to avoid commercials.
Yeah.
Hulu, pay for the no commercials. Netflix, HBO, Amazon Prime, YouTube Premium, no commercial. I haven't seen a commercial in 10 years. Everybody's like, oh, I don't even watch because I don't watch sports ball, but I haven't seen Super Bowl commercials. So yes, I will miss some memes every now and then. but I buy things because something in my life said this is going to benefit me, not the right tone, timing, and advertising marketing strategies presented to me as a captive audience. So even if you have a streaming service and you have commercials, mute them. Don't fall for it. There's a reason why you continue to stare at the TV between the show you're watching. Han Solo. Can under 18-year-old owns properties or get loans? Is that a scam, or are these legit ways to do it? So they can't sign a contract in most areas. Can an under 18-year-old own properties, Matt?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think the only way that they could do that is if it was in trust.
So
Like,
almost like a
usually-
co-signer situation.
But yeah, but usually in that case, and again, not legal advice, not an attorney, don't know this for a fact, but the way that we structured ours was they're in a trust. That way, if something ever happened to me and to Ashley, all of our kids own that property. However, there would be an administrator over that would manage that until they were old enough. Because the other big thing for us too is if that ever happened, I would never want them getting all of that income when they were 18.
So Chester makes a good point down here. Their name can be on the deed. So
Yes.
they can be named on the deed, so I can inherit or whatever. It's the, can you get a mortgage under 18?
Right.
That's where the trust can, that's where the co-signer can.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Chester
Yeah, exactly.
and all the headers say that they love YouTube Premium. I've mentioned a couple of times where, if you watch YouTube and you see the ad, the content creator makes like a half a penny or whatever. So thank you for the penny. If somebody has YouTube Premium and you watch the content and you don't see the commercials, the content creator actually makes a little more money than somebody watching who sees the ads. That you get like both of those charts, and it's always a smaller number because like 5% of the viewership pays for YouTube Premium, but that amount is paying more per view than the other one.
Is it like $20 a month now or something?
I think it was 13 the last time I checked.
13? Yeah, something.
no
I knew it was
idea.
something inexpensive.
I have one of those rich people problems where I don't know what my bills are. Hello, Esther. So sorry you were late. We weren't talking about turnkey properties being risky. We were talking about a specific turnkey company that was basically so large that some of the employees were able to sell properties that didn't exist or were flat lots, selling them as done properties. We didn't name the company. We didn't name the person. We don't want to get sued, but the person had to leave the US, doesn't live here anymore. So very large. They still have a YouTube presence. So I don't even think they did the thing. I think it was their company that did the thing.
Yeah.
But if you're going to so we were talking about lots of scams. So having your rental properties taken and used by somebody who doesn't own it, tricking people into paying them a deposit, turnkey properties where you don't do your due diligence and verify the company's real, has a track record, read reviews, verify the properties there. And then, syndications promising lofty things that just are obviously not possible. There was a whole bunch at the beginning on scams that we covered.
Yes.
Yeah, so $12 on that header. Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
Thank you for checking that. I could have probably opened that up, but I hate opening up my bank right now. Because like Matt, you have debt equity. You don't want to have a whole bunch of equity in properties that's not producing cash flow. I have a whole bunch of money in the bank, not producing cash flow, and it bothers me to see it. That's the problem I'm trying to get everybody watching this to right now. To the amount of money you have in the bank is so much it bothers you. Because it would get a better return. You don't have to spend it. You just have to move it. Take it from the bank and put it in a property, and then it will generate more money than the bank is generating. So I'm glad I didn't have to look in there. Oscar. Got cut off, Lumberjack and Millennial Mike. Get Dion on your next video. Would like to see you bust the wall with the sledgehammer. Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are great. Got to go eat. Ciao. Thanks, Oscar.
It was fun donkey kicking it.
Nice.
You haven't seen it yet, but it's out there, Dion. I was donkey kicking a brick wall.
I have not seen that yet. I saw you carrying around the hammer, but Mike said, somebody in the comments said bust the wall, and you were like, no, because you just put it up.
Yeah, we had one that was like that, and Dion and Mike was like, "Well, let's go bust some walls." I was like, "I don't have any to bust." But then we went to a property, and I forgot that there was a chimney there that I need to bust one of the walls.
I don't know that I have any to bust either. I have a couple I want to build. I can't wait for this one tenant to move. It's a duplex where, I purchased it as a 2, 1 1/4 each side. So 2 bedrooms, 1 1/4 bathrooms each side. The one side, the tenant moved out. It's now 3 because there is a completely done den with a closet. And all it needs is one wall with a door, and it's a bedroom.
Wow.
The other side is exactly the same, but the tenant is not moving. And I'm not going to kick her out. But when she moves, that will then be a 3. Rent will go up about $500 is what happened on the other side.
Yeah.
It's almost like owning rentals is a good thing.
Almost. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, who'd have thunk? So I'm giving it a chance here to see if there's any more questions coming in the comments. So while we give people a chance to put a question in there, Matt, what do you think is the biggest scam that you ever fell for? And I won't make a marriage joke here.
So far, so good. 16 years in. Biggest scam I ever fell for. Oh, I actually can think of one. This is, yeah. So I had a roof that I needed to have done. And I had it quoted out, this, that, and the other. Everybody else was, longer out. The roofer's like, yeah, he's like, no, I'm not going to do it for that. And I was like, okay. So he wouldn't, so he was like, yeah, I won't do it for that price. I said, all right, well, just keep me in your Rolodex. Let me know if you get some free time. Doesn't need to be replaced right now. So anytime in the next year, 18 months. He then reached back out to me and he goes, all right. He's like, I need a 50% deposit, which was $3,000. Need a 50% deposit. I said, okay, sounds good. I'd used him as a contractor. He'd done 2 or 3 other roofs for me. Took the $3,000 and never did anything. Never did anything. So I had done business with him 3 times before. I'd spent probably about $30,000 with him and he just disappeared with my $3,000. Couldn't find him anywhere. Tried to track him down. Couldn't find him there. He'd moved businesses. So I got scammed. He just took my money and ran. $3,000. And because I trusted him. I didn't have another contract with him because we did a contract on the first one. And then said terms of this contract will remain for each and every property we do hereafter. And you got to find him. Got to be able to find him to track him down.
Wow.
So he took my $3,000.
That's scary because an example is I have a roofing company that I've worked with. I've had 2 roofs done by him. Mm-hmm. I told him, look, you're probably going to do the next one. I'm going to get estimates every time. I can't imagine that they would ever do something like that, but I couldn't
imagine it either.
I would assume I would fall for it exactly like you did.
Yeah.
The experience from the first 2 was so good.
Yeah. It was
great
awesome.
Customer service, great reputation.
Yep, it was excellent.
That they garner about a bit of trust where you make a great point. Every new contract is a new experience and you want to protect yourself.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the biggest scam I've ever fallen for. Biggest amount of money I've ever lost was starting a company. Did it twice. First one was a furniture moving company. My wife at the time emptied out the taxes and wages account, so I had to shut it down. But the second one was I started a flatbed company when I was running the truck driving school, and I thought I was Teflon, and everything I did turned to gold because I couldn't make a mistake with the truck driving school. Thought I could run a trucking company because I had the school, which means I was producing drivers. I had it made, but I didn't run the day-to-day. I hired the wrong people, wrong drivers, lost a couple $100,000, put 100,000 into it to start it, had 100,000 to run it. And as it was running out about 180, I had to shut it down because it was going to cost me 20 grand to close the company because I had to break leases, legally pay the amount to break the lease and everything. So it wasn't so much a scam as not understanding my bandwidth. So that's when people tell me, like Julie has said a couple times, "Oh, Dion, you're definitely an entrepreneur." No, I'm an investor. As an entrepreneur, I've failed so many times that I know that's not my bandwidth. That's not my thing to do. But I can put money to work. Like the question here from Chester, what would each of you recommend as optimal balance of capital deployment? I'll let you answer first, but I have an idea on mine. Best optimal deployment for capital.
Optimal balance of capital deployment. So that's a conversation, believe it or not, I have with my bank. I have that conversation with them. One of the things that I'm coming out with, we've been working on it for like a month now. It's taken way longer than it should have, is something called basically a real estate portfolio stress test. And the purpose of the real estate portfolio stress test is so you can constantly see how many weeks of life you have left based on the operations. But then what it does is it lets you build out scenarios just by moving the sliding bars. It allows you to build out scenarios for how long you can actually last based on things deteriorating. The whole reason that I invented that was so I can constantly, every single time I do a deal with my bank, I send that to them and say, here's basically what we're looking at for my current cash flow and my positions and everything else. I think the percentage, it really varies. For my percentage, I think, we have our emergency fund of about $50,000, $60,000, like range right in there that we have ready for any time. But we have right now, we have 7 figures literally sitting there waiting to deploy capital. I would probably not let that get below. We talked to our bank about it. They said, we'd like to make sure that you have, at least $500,000 available to you, based on the portfolio that we have. So yeah, I mean, that's the numbers. Those are the real numbers from us, but we've got, 135 units. So
I look at it kind of similar, but with a lot less math, because I'm me. So someone like Chester, your strategy is probably the best way, right? But for me, it's scaled with the portfolio. So best balance of capital for me was when I had 7 units or less, I wanted around $10,000 because I can handle certain things. I can handle tenants not paying. I can handle a roof. I can handle a couple water heaters. But when I went over 7 units, more things can go wrong at the same time. More tenants can stop paying. So I increased that. So that balance went from 10,000 to 30 while I was working. When I stopped working, I raised it to 50. So there's $50,000 sitting in an account that in my mind is emergency fund, reserves. So everything above that should be put to work. That's the balance for me. I don't have 7 figures, but I'm halfway to 7 figures sitting in an account. And that's why it bothers me to open it and look at it, is to go, this money is sitting in the bank, getting me like $11, $12 a year, whatever it is, right? It's ridiculous.
It's not good.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's not good.
Or it could be in a property getting me $50,000 a year on a 10% return.
Right.
Like that would be kind of cool.
Right.
But it's also finding the right deal, at the right time, and every month. And this is where the crazy numbers come in that I can still hardly wrap my head around. It's like I'm used to at the end of the month having more month left than money, like that. I've lived life just like everybody else, sure. And now I'm retired. I'm not working. I'm doing everything I want to do, taking trips and sea-doos and quads and just whatever I feel like. And there's like 5 figures, so 10 grand or so being added to that every single month for the next purchase. So Chester, I'm in that market or in that mindset of, as the money grows, more opportunities to purchase happen, but that money is not producing while I'm saving. Mm-hmm. So it's a balance of how much do you keep and just don't touch, so that you don't ever lose sleep, that you won't be able to handle a problem. But as you're saving, the time between saving and putting it to work is kind of frustrating.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. Millennial Mike, the biggest scam I've ever fallen for, marriage. Sorry, Dion. We can only be friends, nothing more. I don't know. Although marrying a guy might have been so much better choice than marrying women. And it's not a them problem, it's a me problem. My people picker's broken. So my brother said it so genius. I wonder if I could say this on YouTube. I'll use a different word. So there's an S word I'm going to leave out of this. My brother, who is a virtual genius, absolutely beautifully crazy genius, but one time he said, here's your problem. This is so much of an overshare. I should probably end the video before I say it, but I'm not going to. He said, Dion, you really like promiscuous women. Then you marry them. And then you're upset that they're promiscuous. Now replace that word with the S word. And he was a genius because he was right. So flash of light, thank you for saving me with a comment. I appreciate it. The other not scam, but is a scam, is the 401k account, which only defers tax and not avoidance. That's brilliant. I absolutely agree. I think that is the biggest scam I fell for. Mm-hmm. I ended up putting it to work, getting lucky. So there is sometimes luck, but before really becoming an investor and seeing a path to financial freedom through real estate, I was maxing out the 401k, thinking at the time it was like $600 a month or whatever. So you get the 12,000 a year that you could, or pay 600 a paycheck, whatever it was, to avoid taxes. Basically saying, I really hope I retire broke, so I pay less taxes then. And I want to lock this money up. So if I want to use it between now and then, I have to pay a penalty to touch it. Or if I want to self-direct it, I'm going to lose all the benefits to owning real estate, like depreciation, self-managing, all the things that you can't do in a self-directed retirement account. So that was one of the biggest scams I fell for, just like everybody else. Why do retirement accounts exist? Because the people who manage them make a ton of money. Things like marketing firms saying, let's push the 401k with some big commercials nationwide. Yeah. That's not your company running that ad. That's the companies that run the retirement account making money to spend on advertising. And then luckily in 2020, pandemic hit, if you want to say luckily, and I was impacted because our company got shut down for like 6 weeks or something. But I was able to take the money out, not pay the penalty, happily paid all the taxes, took the money, used it for life, which ended up adding a triplex to my existence, increasing my cash flow. So one of the biggest scams I think I've fallen for was locking money up in a retirement account. And that's why I've made, like, probably in the last year of doing YouTube, 3 or 4 videos on how much retirement accounts suck, because I know there's other people that are still falling for that. Yes, I contribute for the match. I contributed for the match right up to the last day that I was working, because free money and math says to do it. But I hated that. Mm-hmm. So I got almost all of it out in 2020. And then I contributed for the next couple of years, and the market recovered or whatever. So even though I took the money out, there's like $11,000 in my retirement account. It's down 24% this year, right? But it's still up to $11,000. In January, I'm going to take that money out. I don't care if I take it out and burn it. I'll be happier that it's not there, because I'll pay the 10% penalty, because even though I look it, I'm not 59 and a half yet. But I won't have any W-2 income next year. So I will pay the least amount of taxes on that money. If I took it out now, it would be in the bracket that I ended my W-2 income in July, which is, I think, the 34 or 37% bracket. So I don't want to pay that. But next year it'll be like the 10 or 12% bracket. And I'm happy to pay that money just to get it out of there, so I don't have to worry about the scam that I fell for of putting money in a retirement account. Ninja Venice finally just realized what my shirt said. So, which has I have a red stapler here too. So that means you're old enough to remember Office Space. Nice.
Great.
Thank you. It was actually the logo for the nonprofit that I founded, so that every day I could ask people for the TPS reports, because it's Transportation Placement Services was the name of the nonprofit. So we would actually have TPS reports. And for the real nerds, the guy from Office Space has replaced Gibbs in NCIS, and they make Office Space references in the newest season. So that's for the real nerds.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Elisa, thank you. Okay, so unless there's any more questions popping in. So All Nighter Hider, I need to watch Rich from Entrepreneurs in Cars. I will have to watch that. I was watching The Uneducated Economist the other day, and I heard him mention you a couple of times in the comments, All Nighter Hider. So that is definitely something that I enjoy his content. Yeah. Millennial Mike, don't forget to like the video and share content like this from these guys on socials. That's how we promote the channels, which we appreciate. We're trying to get this information to more people. I get that fear porn gets more views. I'm okay with that. And we're not in the convincing business. We're not trying to, I steal that from you, Matt, because you were the first place I heard that. We don't need to convince people that real estate's the way to go, that you should be investing. I like the video that we did the other day with the REI Avengers, because Mike is in New York, hopefully having a great trip. But one of the comments was, aren't investors screwed because we bought at the height of the market? Like, people know where the top of the market is now. We won't know for a couple of years where the top of the market was here.
Exactly.
And no matter how many times we say don't time the market, almost everybody that
tries to time the market
outside of like the 5, maybe 7 channels that we really associate the most with. The other channels are all, nope, here's the reason why you need to time the market, and right now is not the time to buy. Go back 10 years, no one's ever said this is the time to buy.
Exactly. Because no one knows. No one knows. Real quick, Ramirez real estate team. I actually looked in Greensboro. It was one of the secondary markets I looked at. I'm not doing anything remote right now, but when I retire, it's certainly something I might consider. And then Sound Snags, release date for the course, end of this year, beginning of next, probably just after the first of the year this year is when we'll do it, or this coming year, for just after the first. So we're just buttoning things up now. And then Simon is an awesome guy. Yeah. So Uneducated Economist. Tomorrow I am actually going to be one of Simon Uneducated Economist's very first guests ever. And I'm super excited for it. I love working with Simon. I think he's fantastic. I think I can honestly tell you he saved me tens of thousands of dollars in putting off stuff, because he said, supply chain, just wait. Supply chain, just wait. It's not a dollar problem. It's a supply chain problem. So I waited, and we've done some of those projects now with lumber being literally 30% the cost of what it was. So yeah, Simon is I would take Simon's word over all these other boneheads that think they know what's going to happen in the economy. I like Simon's approach. He's just living it. He's in it. He's the only one that's working in a lumber yard, talking to people every day and seeing who the buyer is and how they're buying it and asking those questions. So yeah, you can't go wrong by watching Simon. I think he's fantastic.
I forget where Dividend Dave moved to. In my head, I always just call it Louisiana, but that's probably not where he's at.
It's not where he's at. I think he was South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go.
I think it was South Carolina, but I could be wrong, Dividend Dave.
Yeah. And then Michelle asks that she's been looking for your winterizing video.
Oh, it's I sent you the link. It's on one of your videos. It's on the video that you just posted. Which one did you just post? It's in my I sent you the link.
Then Michelle asks,
oh my heavens.
Sorry. Why did that happen?
It's in that I sent you the video link whatever it was a couple days ago. I can't put it in your thing because I don't have a wrench.
You have a wrench here, don't you?
No, I don't have a wrench.
And then All-Nighter Hider has a wrench. Why don't you?
I know.
Make a comment and I'll give you a wrench.
Oh, there, I got a wrench now.
You've always had a wrench.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, I was gonna say,
how did you used to get rid of the porn?
I used to be your porn cleanser. I was the best porn picker on the planet. Say that 3 times.
So it should post something.
Okay. Yeah.
I will. So you can post a link to your video for Michelle and everybody else. So winterizing here in Washington, Michelle, is a lot easier. Most places don't even flush out sprinkler systems. They can.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. But you put on the styrofoam covers, and there's 2 versions at Lowe's or Home Depot. One's all styrofoam, one is styrofoam with a plastic cover. I prefer the plastic cover. They tend to last several more years than the styrofoam does. They're like $1 more. So for me, it's worth it. I just buy a case of them and go around, make sure hoses are disconnected. There's really not that much to do in Washington. And here's an example of why. This morning, it was 10 degrees colder in Vegas than it was in Washington, because the desert gets colder than Washington. Washington, we've got all the trees and all the water to stabilize the temperature. We don't get the extreme highs, the extreme lows. But there are places where Matt lives where, I mean, winterizing there is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business for snow plowing and flushing out and all the stuff that you guys have to do in the winter that we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's extremely expensive. My snow bill last year was $34,000.
My snow bill last year was, I think, around $140, and that was for the icing bags of stuff to put on some walkways, whatever that stuff, salt that you put on on walkways. Janelle says, howdy. Sadly, you fell for Kiyosaki's course back in the day. His book was awesome. I agree. But his course was gimmicky. I've gone to his free seminars, but they are kind of gimmicky on here's how you upsell. And they always have a younger presenter in the front who has a heartfelt, emotional story that pulls on your heartstrings and then flips it into that person just shared something super personal. So you should buy their course because you want to be involved in that. It's very well orchestrated to get you to spend money.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
so
it's a business. I get it.
So I just put the link in. I just put the link in for the winterizing video. The one thing I will tell you about the separate heaters is you need to walk around your property and figure out which circuits these are on, because the outlets. So a bedroom will typically only have one circuit, meaning one breaker on the breaker board. And then the hallway will have another breaker or another breaker on the panel. So what's really interesting is some people will literally plug them into two outlets and they're like, whoa, it's two separate outlets, but it's not. It's the same circuit on the circuit breaker. So what you want to do is typically you can either change the color of the plate. And if you don't want to change the color of the plate, you can just put like a little red dot on the plate or something like that. And that way say, hey, or yourself when you have to go drop these off because the heating system's down or they ran out of oil or whatever, and you can't get oil or whatever. That way you know exactly which couple to plug them into, because the ones that I recommend are good for heating up to 1,500 square feet. So I recommend those, but if you put a couple of those in pretty much any unit, so long as there isn't an open window, which I found last week, so long as there isn't an open window, you can actually keep a decent temp in there. But that's part of it, is having at least 4 or 5 of those. In that video, I actually have the links to the ones that we use, worth their weight in gold. They saved my butt big time yesterday, because guess who wasn't open on Thanksgiving Thursday? None of the heating companies.
Esther makes a good point here, who I believe lives in Seattle, invests in Moses Lake, so Eastern Washington, but is looking at investing in my area. And I've connected with an agent here. You need sprinklers, blow off, and cover exterior faucets in Eastern Washington. So Eastern Washington, California and Washington are kind of like the same. If you get towards Southern California, you get the Mojave Desert. If you move California to Washington, you basically just tilt it sideways. Eastern Washington is more desert-like, more windy, we get the more freezing cold weather. So yeah, there's more winterization. So you got to know your local market. Yeah. But on this side, Michelle, it's really, I've had two pipes freeze, one that broke the entire time I've lived here. So since the 90s, and any property that I've owned or the one I lived in, it's just not that common.
Yeah.
Of a thing here.
Here it's every year.
Matt in the chat says, could also flip outlets upside down to indicate which ones you use for heaters. Know your local ordinances on that, though. There's something in Washington where upside down outlets means something else. I don't remember what it is, but yeah.
Interesting.
Chester says, any scams with deed contesting? Not something I've heard of, but I always get title insurance. Then he follows with, is that what lawyers do as part of the title search? That's what the title company would do.
That's right.
And because they're going to be the ones that have to deal with any title issues that come up after you own, unless you are unintelligent and you don't get title insurance.
Ooh, don't do that.
That's my suggestion. Yes.
So I literally had a deal that I bought 3 years ago. We bought the deal 3 years ago. Clean title, came back. I refinanced it a year and a half ago in that major bucket of refis, dirty title. There was a claim that they missed that the new company found. So they went back to the other company and said, this isn't our responsibility, this is yours. And it ended up being about $20,000 to fix it, is what I heard. And that all fell on the other title insurance company because whoever reviewed it missed something.
So I have a friend who actually works in title. That's what she does. She's an outreach specialist for title, owns a condo, is house hacking, so she's on the path. But she talks about, just in casual conversation, anytime there's been a title issue, I've never heard of a title issue that wasn't tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Like that's why they get involved. And so that's why I would never do a deal without it.
Yeah. Yep.
All-Nighter Hider actually makes a good point here. Being a handyman and a contractor, this is a good place to get the information from. Upside down outlets are usually known for half-hots. This is what I was thinking. An outlet on a switch, because I had a very nice tenant who told me, I replaced all of your electrical outlets because now they're prettier. I said, well, don't do that. First, thanks for telling me. But then they call and they go, every time we turn the lights on, we trip the breaker. And I was like, I don't know anything about electricity, but that doesn't sound normal. So I go over there, and since it's a duplex and I'm living on one side, technically I can do electrical work on my unit. The renter shouldn't have. But did my lights just flicker, or am I having a stroke? So
Strokey.
I'm stroking. Okay, good. Let me know when I can't be understood anymore. Oh, my hand's out for a second. So
Don't worry, I'll jump in.
right. An outlet has a tri-plug at the top, tri-plug at the bottom, you know, for the positive, the lead, and whatever it is, and then the ground. But the top and bottom are connected by these two little tabs on the side. And if you have a switch that operates one of those for a lamp, you break the tab off. So when you have a tenant that puts it in, you have power coming in from one side, and then you have the power coming in from the switch. So when they hit the switch, you're basically connecting two breakers. So you learn that after hours and hours of trial and error, and can't figure it out yourself, because I don't know anything about real estate. So I have it, or about, wasn't handy at the time. So then I have the electrician come over to fix the stupid problem the tenant caused. And he goes, well, literally a minute in, he's like, well, that's a switch, right? So did you break the tab? And both of me and the tenant look at each other like, tab? What's that? Quick little education. You just take pliers, snap off the tab. Now you can have power from both sides, one connected to the switch. So you're right, upside down. And that's why I remembered that it was just something, but I couldn't remember what.
Nice.
Cool. I think we're going to be wrapping it up there. I appreciate everybody hanging out on a Friday, this random midday live stream. I love answering questions like this. At the very beginning of the video, if you missed it, Matt and I went back and forth on some scams that happen in real estate. And there were a couple of comments from people who didn't know some of those scams existed. So you might want to take a watch of the first 10 minutes again. I need to find a way to remind myself every time we do a live, or I do a live, I want to record the first 10 or 20 minutes.
Right. This is another video.
And then make another video, just like, because a lot of people never click on an hour long or whatever we're at now, whatever hour and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hour and 2 minute video. They're just not going to watch it. It's like, I don't have time. I'll watch a 10-minute video. I'll watch 10-minute videos in a row. I'll binge them, but I'm never going to watch an hour. And some people like the hour. So I try to do some of both, right? But I want to get those beginning ones. And the only way I've figured out how to do it is record it on Zoom, but I never remember.
I know. I'm the worst at that too.
So I've got like 2 to release out of.
Yes.
So last week was my 53rd Tuesday live stream, which means over a year, consistently every single Tuesday, I've done a minimum of an hour and a half live stream, sometimes longer. So over a year, I've got 2 10-minute videos to pull out and put somewhere else. So.
Those were good memory days.
Cool. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I hope you have a weekend full of awesome. Make sure you are you doing your live stream this weekend before I commit you to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
Matt is doing a live stream on Sunday, and I hope to see all of you there. And do me a favor this time. So here's a quick little lesson for anybody who's there's 53 people on here, so hopefully at least like 20 will do this. When you open up the video, your live chat's going to be down here. My live chat is down here so I can watch when I lose it on my screen, right? You have to close it and hit the like button and then open the chat back up. But that's what happens is a lot of us jump in and we don't see the like button because we're in the chat, and that's where we want people as the chat, because that interaction helps the video. But for just a second at the beginning of Matt's video, when you log in, close the chat, hit the like, open the chat, and let's see if we can get consistently through the video as many likes as there are viewers. Because right now we're at 35 likes, 55 viewers, like 7 people dipped out in the last minute. But let's see if we can nail that on Matt's Lumberjack Landlord live stream Sunday morning. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk. And we are off.
Nice.